Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome to another interview. Actually, we're here again with Josh from Zoo, with his game Zoo Tao's Hime, right?
Yep.
Hime. And if you guys missed it, we did an interview that came out before. I'll have a link for that video in the description below if you want to see it, where we talk about the game and sort of what went into it and things like that. If you want to sort of introduce yourself for people who may not have watched the previous video and sort of a brief summary of Zhu Tao's Hime. Like I said, if you guys want a more detailed thing, go ahead and check out the previous video. But yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Josh Bakken, and I am the creator of the game Zoo Tiles Hime. It's a strategic tile placement game, and it's kind of loosely what happens if you took a TCG game and dominoes and kind of smashed them together. I think that's kind of the best description that that I could give in a real short, period of time. And I'm also the founder of Zoo Studios, and Zoo Studios is basically just a vehicle for me to push Zoo Tiles and into the world and see what happens.
Awesome. And so currently the Zoo Tiles is up for pre-order, which I'll have the link for that in the description below. And there's a special pre-order price. So once it's released, it'll be $30. But right now, if you pre-order it, it's only $24, which is super awesome. So I highly recommend doing that if you guys are all interested.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. It looks really awesome, especially I know a lot of our viewers play Force Will and stuff, and so like has cool things like it has similar stack resolving for how the game's version of spells and chants and stuff like that. It has some really unique battling mechanisms where your different characters can join up and stuff like that. But so I want to for today I want to talk about some things as far as like I guess more stuff that's going to be coming up for it. So in the last video you had talked about your second sort of starter set that'll round out the characters and stuff like that, which will be coming at a later point. Is there any plans after that? Is this going to be like a sort of continuous living thing, or is it more of like a once in a while like something might come out, or like any plans for
Yeah,
that?
no, that's a great question. So we talked about in the previous video, we talked about starter set one, which is available now, and then we're going to be doing starter set two. And then after starter set two is out and all the base creatures are available, then we're going to actually go to the booster phase of things. And so
Oh,
starter set one and starter set two, the tiles will comprise individual tiles will probably be around, I want to say, 68 to 70 tiles. Different tiles will be in those sets. But I've already designed 196 tiles for the game, and so what we'll do after those is we'll start to introduce the rest of the I don't know what's 120 more tiles through booster packs. And so we'll always have starter set one and starter set two for people to buy, and just to get familiar with the game. But if they want to go a little bit deeper, then they can go and grab some booster packs and crack them open. And there'll definitely be tiles in the packs that you won't get in the starter sets. So that's kind of the longer term vision of how we're gonna sell things for the game. And so that'll be like, I don't know if you would consider that more like a TCG model or a living card game model. To me, it's probably going to be a little slower pace than your typical TCG that's like, constantly, bombarding folks with product all the time. I figure that if I keep the company kind of manageable, where I don't have to have a huge amount of overhead to kind of keep pushing product out, and if I can make more I don't want to say intelligent because that's probably not the best word, but smarter decisions as to design, and the longer I spend on design, I can maybe put out a more quality set of boosters than just having a bunch of out there for the sake of having them out there with a bunch of filler tiles and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that's going to work.
that's pretty cool. Do you already have like a model of how like that would work with tiles and booster packs, or is that something you're still working on?
Well, this is what I want to do, and no one's really been able to talk me out of it yet. So we'll see how it goes. I see. What I want to do is I want the boosters to be individual tiles, and obviously that would be a lot cheaper for the consumer. So they won't have to pay like $5 for 15 cards, some of which they won't really like. Most of them they won't. What I'd like to do is take the price point down to like maybe $1, and then sell individual tiles for $1. So if somebody wanted to spend the same amount, let's say, they could buy 5 tiles for the same price that they would pay for a booster, 4 or 5 tiles. And then each of those openings would have the ability to get like, a rare. So, if they're super lucky, they could, with the same $4 or $5, they could potentially get, more rares, if that's what they wanted to try for. And the main reason for that is because there's a ton of different machines in existence that can sort cards really, really great, but there's no machines that I know of that have that same capacity for like 2 millimeter thick tiles, So if someone invents one, please let me know, because I'd be super interested in that. But I just think it would be, right now with the technology, I'm just not seeing how I could easily, randomize 5 different tiles per booster without having somebody like a person actually like mixing them all up, and like picking or something like that. And I don't think I'm super interested in doing that. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm headed. I don't know, maybe the community, before boosters are even out the door, maybe the community, as the community builds with starter set 1 and starter set 2, then I'll kind of drop that and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Does anyone have like a big, huge problem with it? And then we'll see what their answer is. If they do, then we'll figure something else out. But that's kind of where I'm heading in my mind right now.
All right. Sort of a random question. Would there, well, I guess it was mentioned that at Gamma Expo 2020 there was talks about a secret art. So I guess the first question is sort of what is that referring to, and is that true? And the follow-up would be, you had mentioned like pulling packs that have rares and stuff. Is there any plans for it to replicate TCGs in the sense that you could pull, I don't know if you could do this for tiles, but if you could pull a foil or like a alt or secret art of an existing card or something like that?
Yeah. No, it's funny that you mentioned the secret art part about at Gamma. So what happened was, as I mentioned in the earlier video, we currently have 2 different art styles attached with the game. One of them is what's called classic art, and I got an example right here. Hold on, I'll show you an example. Let me see. I'll show you an example of 2 different tiles, how they look. So, hold on. Find a pig. Okay, perfect. So that right there is an example of the classic art for a pig, and this is an example of the Hime art for the pig. And so at Gamma, I took both types, and I was showing and I was demoing it to other people. And so as more people were telling me, hey, you guys should definitely lead with the anime-inspired art, I stopped showing people the classic art and just kind of had it at the side. And I don't know where this rumor came from. I didn't start it, but people started coming up to the table and saying, hey, I heard that there's some like secret art or underground art that like you guys have, because we were just showing the Hime stuff, and we're like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the classics? And they're like, oh yeah, that, and so people were starting to get like make this like weird kind of conspiracy that the classic was like some secret underground art, which it wasn't, but I just thought that was super funny that kind of just started to grow out of nowhere. But to answer your question in terms of if there's the potential for different foils or different, maybe slipping in a classic or something, I'm open to doing all kinds of like crazy and wacky and fun stuff with the game and how we merchandise the game. And I would totally be up to making like a one-of-a-kind tile that's maybe just like a foil version of a pig or something, and just slipping it and not telling anybody about it, and just and then having somebody open it and go, hey, no one else has one of these. Is this like rare? No, it's actually a one-of-a-kind piece that I will never talk about, but congratulations for you pulling it. So, so yeah, I want to do a bunch of kind of fun stuff like that for sure. And then another thing that we want to do is we plan on going to a lot of cons when they reopen from the COVID stuff, and we're really hot on making exclusive tiles for every con we go to. So like if we go to Anime Expo or Gen Con, we'll make like 500 Gen Con specific tiles that just look amazing, you know, and you know, it'll have like Gen Con 2020 on it or something like that, and then it'll be like the first 500 people that come visit us will get one, and yeah, we're just super into making cool things for the fans that they can come get.
Yeah, I really like that type of stuff. I like for anyone who watches our stuff knows I like that sort of shiny or exclusive type of stuff. But speaking of conventions, you had mentioned that you're looking at going to or Origin. So if you want to explain what Origin is and sort of what you guys will be doing there.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. So, you know, everybody knows that because of coronavirus, a lot of the conventions were canceled for 2020, and I don't know if your viewers are much into the board game space or not, but maybe a fair amount of them know about Gen Con, which is kind of like the largest, you know, gaming convention in the U.S. Well, there's another gaming convention called Origins, which has been around for forever. But I've always considered it like Gen Con's baby brother, even though they're put on by two different types of people, two different organizations. And so what Origins is put on by Gamma, which is the Game Manufacturers of America. And since they can't have the physical convention, they're going to do this thing called Origins Online, and it's going to be run through Twitch. And there's opportunities for people to get like little booths, and they're trying to make it as virtual of a convention as possible. And this is kind of like the first stab, and no one really knows how it's going to go. And what I'm going to be doing is Sunday morning, I think it's from 11 to 11:15, and this happens June 19th through the 21st. And on that Sunday, I'm going to be live streaming on one of their Twitch channels, Zoo Tiles, how to play it, and yeah, just kind of talk to whoever's there, you know, about the game, answer any questions, that kind of thing. So I'm super excited because you know, when you're trying to launch a new game and then all of a sudden all the conventions are canceled for the year, you're like, oh, that kind of sucks, right? So the fact that people are trying really hard to salvage what they can and make something cool happen, I'm all for that. So I'm excited for that to happen.
Yeah, no, I thought that sounded super cool, especially that you can just sort of tune into a stream and watch it. Like I know I personally love going to conventions and stuff, and not this or not for this year or last year, but for the previous years at Gen Con, actually that was something that Force of Will used to go to, so the viewers actually might be pretty familiar with that at least. But I do like the idea of getting sort of the being able to watch sort of virtual panels and stuff from the comfort of your home, essentially. But is there you might not know this, but is there audience interaction at all with those? Like, are you able to do things like Q&As, or is it more of just a presentation type of deal?
No, I think it's going to be more. Well, I think it differs depending on what channel, I guess, you watch. I think there's going to be ones where you can interact. And what they're also trying to do is, and I don't really know how they're going to do this, but they're giving people, quote unquote, booths. So companies can get a virtual booth. And so maybe that booth is a channel, I guess. And so people can drop into the different channels which would represent someone's booth. And then apparently a lot of people are going to be trying to run like Tabletop Simulator and things like that. So people can drop in and the company can, you know, talk to them, chat with them. Maybe they can even jump in a Tabletop Simulator game of the person's game. So I'm not really sure how that's working out. I didn't get a virtual booth, but I just signed up for that, you know, that 15-minute segment of streaming. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. And here's another thing that it's completely free to go to. They charge a sliding scale, and I think if you can afford to give some, most of the money that's raised is going to go to help supporting local game stores around the
Oh,
country. So if you don't have the money for a ticket, that's totally fine. You don't have to pay. But if you can pay something, that money, as far as I'm aware, will go to a really good cause of keeping the LGSs open.
awesome. I guess sort of a side question here that's unrelated, but that I just popped up. So the game obviously, like we've reiterated quite a few times here, it uses tiles. What was the process like getting to that tile, like material and stuff like that? Was that a weird process? And also, do you have any plans in the future of like maybe making like different material tiles for, like, I don't know, like awards, or like, for example, like Gen Con giveaways or something like that? Or
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's funny you should ask, and that's a really good question where the tile thing came from. The tile thing came from me actually looking at other games and thinking that the games. So this particular instance, what kind of really sparked my idea of using a tile was I was reviewing this game where you stuck your hand in a bag and pulled out a glass bead, and depending on what color bead you pulled out of the bags, something would happen, and I don't remember exactly, but I was just like taking it apart conceptually, and I was like, this game kind of sucks. Like, I didn't really, it was not very good. So I was trying to think how I might be able to make this better, not because I knew the guy or anything like that, but just, you're like, oh, well, this isn't really great, but if I did this, I wonder how much better it would make. So I started thinking about, like, okay, well, instead of just pulling out a bead of a random color, what if instead one of the beads in there had like a fake, you know how sometimes they have like scorpions in amber or something like that? Like, I was thinking, instead of just having colored beads, maybe you could put like some kind of creature in there, like maybe a little plastic version of a creature. And maybe if you pulled that one out, and you laid it down, they could somehow, interact with each other. So that's what I was kind of first thinking. And then when you would lay the bead down, you laid the bead down in squares on this mat. And so once I put the bead down and into the squares, and I started thinking about creatures in the beads, and the beads are on squares, then I was like, oh, what if you just got rid of the beads altogether and you just made a tile? Like, and then once I just hit that, it was like, whoa, like, it just started coming really fast. Once you had a tile down, and you could have tiles butt up next to each other, and you could have tiles come in from the side, and all kinds of crazy stuff happened. So that was kind of the genesis, if you will, of where the idea for making tiles. And the other thing was, as I mentioned before, I did not want to do another card game. I didn't want to be like one of those, riding the coattails kind of people. I didn't want to, even if I made a card game and it was successful, I still didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something kind of fresh and something kind of new, because I had seen just, tens, if not hundreds maybe, of, card games trying to come out and do a cash grab. And that's not what Zoo Tiles is at all. Like, if I wanted to do a cash grab, then I would do that, right? I'd do a card game that everybody's familiar with. Right now we're doing tiles, and we're doing everything that has to do with tiles. So we're doing even sleeves, right? So right now these tiles are 70 millimeter by 70 millimeter sleeves, or tiles, but there's nobody out there doing collectible quality sleeves. So guess who gets the privilege of going out and figuring out how to manufacture 70 millimeter by 70 millimeter sleeves? We do. So we're going to be, instead of using all the things that are out there and are readily available to kind of support your game, it's important enough for me to do something unique that we're talking with manufacturers right now. So not only will the game come out, we also have, at least out the gate, 2 colors of sleeves to choose from. Would be ivory and black right now, but then hopefully we'll expand that as time goes on, or someone else will jump in, an Ultra Pro or someone, which would be fine by me. Go for it.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
yeah.
Are the image of those sleeves, are those something that we'll see once the game is actually released, or will it be something that'll be up for pre-order as well at some
It'll
point?
be up. It'll be up for pre-order. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
awesome. And like I said, the link in the there'll be a link in the description for if you guys want to pre-order the game right now. And when you think about it, like if you were to go get a starter deck for Magic or Pokemon or something like that, it's $20 to $30 for the starter deck with a lot of mostly useless cards. But for $24 you get 80 tiles, 2 starter decks. And one thing I keep forgetting to mention in the previous video and this video is that you had mentioned in the how-to video that you can do up to 4 people on this, which is really cool for me because it's usually a lot of times it's 3 of us, or me and my wife, and we have a friend that comes over, and then we also have another friend that'll sometimes come over. So like these 3 to 4 player games are some of our favorite things to do. So I was like, oh, that's perfect.
I'll be doing a lot. I'll be doing a lot of YouTube videos pretty soon about how to play the game and stuff like that. And if I had the setup, I'd show you. But basically, a tile is a square, and so the way the 3 and 4 player works, this blew my mind when I first saw it. It was like it's a perfect square. So if I'm playing over here and I play the tile facing me, and my opponent plays the tile facing them, then we can have a 3rd and a 4th player place tiles facing them off to the side, and everybody can see and know exactly whose tiles are whose, and it just works so perfectly. I was just like, I was blown away how fun and how great tiles are. I'm a huge tile fan. Even if I didn't design a game based on tiles, or let's just say the game completely flops, I'm still gonna love square tile based games forever.
That's awesome. So yeah, and also keep an eye out, guys, for that Origins thing to be that'll be something that sounds super cool to watch. And yeah, so we'll for anyone who's curious about the sort of more technical stuff, that I'm pretty curious about some of the technical stuff. So we'll have one more video coming out talking about some of that, what went into the game and all that. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to check that out when it comes out soon. And in the meantime, go to pre-order the game and all that good stuff. But thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Awesome.